on there? Wonderful. Well, if I had a different way to introduce my letters, I would. I guess that's a different introduction, isn't it? I always say, well, we're going to share with you or read to you these letters from people or emails of people around the country. They love this truth we preach, and they like there's a lot of people out there in the world that like the truth about predestination. God doesn't love everybody. Daily cross, death to self, self-denial. Christmas is pagan, Easter's pagan. They like these truths. They're our fellow elect family, and they've been looking for these truths for a long time. When people hear all this, and they don't even respond to it, and they don't even say anything about it, can you imagine how many people out there in the world, how few belong to God, and how many there are that don't belong to God? You know, I wrestle with this all the time about, God, do they get to go to heaven believing you without being hungry for these truths? Can they go to heaven being in free will and being just not really, it doesn't matter, just as long as I believe in Jesus and go to a Baptist church or a Church of Christ? I know what I have to do, and I don't know how in the world a person is ever going to get into heaven without God dealing with them. I don't see how. And does anybody ever think of that about your families? Yep. They all got saved, and they go to a church, and they're nice and sweet people, and they say they're believers, but they never talk about the Bible. I don't know how they're getting to heaven any different than some drug dealer out here. Huh? Well, they don't really talk about the Lord. They talk about some kind of a Lord out there. It's just a real mushy, generalized Lord, you know. Nothing specific about His Word. Got an email from Michelle White. She says, I had planned on coming this year, but Friday my car started dying at stop signs. And boy, I know that feeling. I know what's wrong with it. It's a switch that goes out every year when I run my air conditioner. That's funny. So at least I know it's $200 to get it fixed, and will it get me to work and back for about a week or so until I can get the money up to get it replaced. Very bad timing. I was looking forward to being there. Miss everyone, Agape, Michelle. We love you, Michelle. Keep listening. Bert Martin writes us regular. He says, whoo, what a powerful word. Feel like I've been in a 12-round boxing match where I never got one punch in, just got beat up real good. God was holding me up with one hand and pounding with me with the other. I can just see that, you know. He beat me a lot of it into my heart, but some of my shortcomings, He just rattled it around my head. I'm growing in truth. I see it. Believe I found Paul's thorn in a verse it read. I know they love me so much they would pluck out their own eyes if they could. Seems God did not give him his entire sight back. Don't know, Jim. It's just an observation. Well, many think that it was his eyes because he told the Galatians in the 4th chapter, he said, I know you would have plucked out your own eyes and given them to me when I was there. Some believe that was his thorn. Can't even remember the verse. It is written in my heart, though. I've never forgotten it. When you reply to my email on Ustream on prophets is exactly what I've been posting. That caused an argument. I backed off just a little until I heard you confirm my position. For some reason, they think explaining a prophecy makes them a prophet. One says the other was ordained. Who ordained himself? Doesn't it have to be the leader of our church? I told them my pastor never told me someone was prophesying for the church. I asked for names of these prophets. In one question to them, God would tell me if they are prophets. They never told me one him hauled around, one of them being him who claimed this gift, but he never said, I am a prophet, but the other said he was. The prophet so-called would not answer directly twice when I asked if he believed in the doctrine of predestination. When I told him yes or no, on threat of putting him away from the website, then he admitted it. Don't know how he does it, Jim, but I can say, how's it going, Lawrence? In 2 minutes, he shoots back a dozen scriptures instead of answering me. He says he studied at the feet of Jesus. He travels around place to place in a mobile home, street preaching. It will be a great day when I meet you in person, Jim. I am in church day and night, and I go out to buy food. Is about it. I cannot go a day without teaching, even if I have to watch some twice. I pass on what I learned to my website, posting your videos. Have a few who are hitting on you positively. It feels good to know God is working through my faith in Him and His Word in you. 1 out of 25 ain't bad. I guess I just love the truth so much I want to yell it to people on the web. But the only way you can yell it is in capital letters. I do, but conservatively. God bless the elect, Brother Bert. We love you, Bert. Keep watching. And he lives in Mount Vernon, Illinois. And then Grant Pasco writes, Dear Jim and Company, you don't have to read this at your meeting. Well, if you want me to, I will. You not want me to? Answer me. I know you say, or rather the Bible says, that demons are the self and that people that say they have seen them are unintelligent, and I do agree with most of your teaching. Not that me agreeing makes it true, but when you have seen something like I have and there is another witness, you have to ask the question, what did I see? That's exactly right. I was only a young child when I saw that. I first came to think it was a demon or a devil. No, it wasn't that. It was something else. My mother saw the same thing about 5 times. It became so word that she sought help from people she knew were religious. The thing that I saw was the shape of a man, was black. It was blacker than the darkness of the room I was sleeping, and its outline was very distinct. Maybe you were dreaming. It was like looking in the void or space without any stars. And then he goes into, I don't believe this stuff. You'll have to sell this to somebody else. It stood about 3 feet from the bed, and I was sleeping. There was an icy breeze. Well, nobody controls the wind, the air, the water, except God. There's no breezes going around except what God's. And he goes on and on. I don't believe that anybody's seeing demons, because there's no such thing as demons. Demons are self. And devils don't come and appear to you. They can't. They are reserved in Tartarus. These fallen angels. Fallen angels in Tartarus. No such thing as demons. So what'd you see? Well, it couldn't be demons. There's no such thing. It can't be fallen angels. They're locked in Tartarus.
What is Tartarus?
So the only time it's mentioned is at one time in 2 Peter, the 2nd chapter. It's the lowest, what is considered to be the lowest pit of hell. It is translated hell, but it's considered the best definition we can have is hell, or the lowest hell. That's the way it's put in most of your commentaries. What y'all doing? I can't do this if y'all do that. But anyway, it's the only place that hell is translated from the word Tartarus. And reserved means, tereo means to keep unchanged. So it's none of those. So it has to be either imagination or some guy dressing up in a black suit coming to your bedroom at night. When you start eliminating what it's not, you can't make it up. The evil spirit is you. That's what it is. I have been in more Pentecostal churches than everybody here put together, even though your father was a Pentecostal preacher and you was Pentecostal, you was a Pentecostal. I have traveled in hundreds of them across America as a gospel singer. I've heard people say, well, I saw this and I'm seeing this. I was sitting there and there was no such thing going on. You know how it is when you're a little kid and you're real impressionable and somebody will say, well, can you see that? And there's a shadow flicker across and you go, yeah, I saw it. Yeah. My father would, I've been so realistic since I was born. I mean, I don't know why. I remember one time we lived on Bird Street in Fort Worth. Bird. It's off Sylvania Avenue. In case you don't know, that way you can pinpoint it, you know. And I remember we were coming in at night, and I was about 4.5, and it was Christmas Eve, and my father would say, look over there, Clyde. Can you see there's Santa Claus over there on the other street? And he'd say, I see him, I see him. I'd say, I don't see him. I was, if you didn't, you better show me. Even as a kid, I wouldn't say it if I couldn't see it. A lot of people are impressionable when they're young. If they saw a shadow or something, they've been hearing people talk about something, and been dreaming, and they've been going to a church where there's a bunch of Pentecostals. Well, you know how it is. People they're talked into imagining they see things, aren't they? They're talked into it. You can see something, you think you're seeing something. It's a cloud coming over between the moon and the earth, and all of a sudden everything goes dark. Oh, I saw the darkness, you know. Or like that night when Mary got scared, and it was the craziest thing I've ever seen. We was living in that house over on Pebble Creek, and all of a sudden there was a light appeared in our bedroom. Up on this, we had cathedral ceilings, little bedroom, but it had cathedral ceilings. Right up at the top of that cathedral part, up against the wall, was a light. And there was nothing, nowhere. You couldn't see where it's like, what is that? If I'd have been a Pentecostal, I'd say the Holy Spirit's here. There's a demon here, something, whichever came to my mind first. But of course, being the mathematician I am, Mary's going, whoa, what is that? Oh, Jim, look at that. There's a light. I said, Mary, it's coming in somewhere. And I get up, walk around, look around. And I swear I could not find it. Finally go, and I go, flick. And I flick the blind, and it goes, disappears, because the light was, it was hitting off a blind, just real peculiar way. You couldn't see it laying in the bed. You couldn't hardly see it walking around the room. That's the kind of thing people think they're seeing something, and you're not. And they'll, how many imaginations can you have when you submit yourself? If you've been raised in a Pentecostal church, they'll have you seeing everything. And if you let yourself go, if you just let your mind go, you'll think you're seeing things from the time you're little to you're grown. You know that? Mary was about to be a basket case, and I'm saying, Mary, the light's coming in somewhere. Because I certainly knew there's no demons out there. But it was really spooky, wasn't it? It's right there it is. And you can't see no light coming in from nowhere. It's like, whoa, that's weird. If we'd have been in a lab as a scientist trying to perform that, we couldn't have done it that well. But it's submitting yourself to your own imagination. And if you're a little kid and your mom is a Pentecostal and she goes to these churches telling you all the time that there's demons all around, you're going to probably see them everywhere you can think of, aren't you? It's like when I was 14 years old and we lived in this Sunday school building behind the church up on blocks. We were poor, and gosh, it was easy to imagine a lot of things. And I had to get up every morning about 2:33 and throw my paper out. And I'd get up and I'd take off down Gulf Street up towards Magnolia Park. And I'd get right at Magnolia Park. And back then they had a lion in a cage out there. And didn't even have any protection, just lying in a cage. They'd go out there and feed it. We got better laws than that now. And I'd get right about that park, and that lion would go, whoa, and I'd go, pedaling that bicycle as fast as I could go. I was imagining, I was seeing it come out of those trees and scared the life out of me. But you can imagine things if you let yourself do it. It's just foolishness, what it is. It's not true. If you're not seeing demons, you're not seeing spirits, you're not seeing the devil, What is it you're seeing? And Jesus said, I'm not appearing. And nobody's having a private audience with me. I mean, gosh, what is it? I guess it's something.
I remember one time that this brother trying to come. And he tried to get me to throw up some kind of demon, and I kept thinking, brain,
Throw it up.
what am I supposed to throw up?
You're talking about it out of your mouth?
Yeah.
You can throw up? Why don't you stick your finger down your throat?
You know, there was something wrong with me, and I should be throwing up something. And I'm thinking in my brain then, I thought, where is that? Why don't I feel like throwing up it? I never did.
Well, if you'd have stuck your finger down your throat, you could have helped him.
Yeah, he did. He actually had a sound. I never could throw up anything. I was not a very good case for him.
Y'all that's been Pentecostals, haven't you had people try to talk you into seeing things that wasn't? What happened to you, Bradley?
Well, yeah, and if you don't see what they
Don't have eyes to see. It's just
That was the demon.
you don't have the Holy Ghost, right? If you don't imagine what they're imagining, you don't have the degree of the Holy Ghost comes in degrees. Okay, that's you. If you time you're 4 and 5 years old, people are talking these real superstitious things around you. You're going to start seeing stuff that ain't there. You'll imagine a shadow of a plane going overhead that you can't hear the engine and goes by. Oops, I saw that shadow. It must be a demon over here. Won't you? Well, that's what's going on. Kenneth Grice writes, he says, no, I'm not going to read that. It's y'all not going to understand that without some kind of long explanation. All right. Let me read what else I've got here. I've got a letter from Martha Brugman. She's down in College Station, Texas. That's where I used to go to college. College Station. She writes, Dear Pastor Jim and all at Grace and Truth, I was hoping that I would be well enough this year to come to the picnic, but have been fighting a chronic sinus infection off and on since January. It keeps coming back every 3 to 4 weeks. After 4 rounds of antibiotics and steroids, the medicine affects me more than the sinus infection. Anyway, I'm in my God's gracious will for everything and give thanks for all. Maybe next year. I have been thinking of you all and know that you had a wonderful time of fellowship together. You are always in my thoughts and prayers. May the Lord continue to bless this ministry and give you all strength and courage to always speak the truth. Death to self is hard to do, but so important to spiritual growth, a constant thought to keep me motivated. My love to all, Martha Brugman. And she loves this message. And Martha, we love you. Just keep watching. Appreciate your continued support. Well, this is another note from her. I don't know if it was just a little note. Oh, she's giving an offering for the new mixer that we need. I won't read that. We've got to be talking to the engineer soon. We're going to have to, that's one of the evils, not an evil, it's one of the blessings of the ministry is to be able to buy things to get the message out. And we'll be spending at least $10,000, $11,000 on that mixer. As soon as we get the word, we'll buy whatever we need to buy. Dave Santos from New York writes, Thank you, Jim Mary, for caring for the poor and teaching Matthew 5:8 to the real elect, which is predestination. Love to the DVD team, Grace Truth Ministry. Regard to Willie and Marianne and Tom, David and Matthew, man, something. Irene, Agape, love, Dave Santos. I'm sorry, I'm not good at reading. I'm not good at writing either. I write terrible. So whenever I have a hard time reading y'all's writing, I'll send you one of my letters and you try to read mine. It'll be about turnabout's fair play. Michael Nietzsche from Charlotte, North Carolina writes to us and watches on TV out of Charlotte. He just says, Dear Pastor Brown, please find enclosed money order, my tithe. Also, please continue to send tapes. As I have not received any tapes, I'm almost 30 days. Sincerely, Michael Nietzsche. Well, we'll keep them coming. If you don't get DVDs or tapes or whatever we send you, they come every, 2 weeks, don't they? Every 3 weeks. Okay, well, don't worry, they're coming. We're not taking anybody off except when we don't hear from you. Kathy Weber writes to us, Hi, Jim and Mary. It was so nice talking with both of you. Thank you for the DVDs. They're always a welcome sight. Agape and Phil, Kathy Weber. And then Rodrigo Botafonte. I hadn't heard from him in forever. He used to call me back years ago, and back 8 or 9 years ago, called me with all kinds of questions. Mr. Jim Brown, thank you for the DVDs that I received from you. God bless you. Rod Botafonte. He's down in Atlanta area, I believe. Yeah, Beaufort, Georgia. He's called me for years. Carolyn Gotcliffe. She's in Forest Hills, New York. And I think I already read this. Thinking of wonderful DVDs I received. Love to all. Here's the latest scoop. That's what it says. All right. Well, that'll be enough reading. And as I always tell you, watch our TV in Nashville. If you're in Nashville, we're on TV quite a bit in Nashville. We're on every Monday night at 10 o'clock, every Saturday night at 10 o'clock on Comcast on Channel 176. Also on Channel 176, Wednesday morning at midnight, Friday morning at midnight. These are all hour-and-a-half programs, and then we're also on Thursday night for 30 minutes on Channel 49. And if you're in Hendersonville, we're on Tuesday evening at 5 o'clock for 30 minutes. And we're on Thursday night for an hour-and-a-half on Channel 3 at 7 o'clock, and we're on radio every Saturday morning. And God's opening up. There's a lot of people out there loving truth, and I'm thankful to God for that. I'll read this later. That'll be enough. I always try to emphasize, God has really touched my heart about trying to help the needy and the downtrodden. They just got to have our help. People who are believers, and you're making a decent living, you don't have to make a great living to help them. If all you do is help with $10 or $20 a month, that's not much. You say, well, my $10 won't go far. If you get 50 people giving $10, it goes a long way. And if you want to send cards, you can either send offerings, send food cards. You pick them up at the grocery store. But we've got people that are in great need. These are not people that are just, that have a way to live. They're people that, I have been in that kind of position as a young man where I didn't have money to buy a loaf of bread. And I promised the Lord if I was ever in position, I'd help other people. And I believe in helping the needy believer. The great indictment against Israel was that they oppressed the widow and the orphan and the poor and the needy. And when you quit following the law of God, you start breaking all other laws. And you ignore the needy. I give cards away. A lot of times when we're all hanging around after church out front. And I cannot do this. I cannot say, okay, let's go eat. And the needy person stands there and they watch us walk away. I can't do that. I say, here's something to eat on. And I try to make it very lighthearted and very light. Here, eat. Here's something to buy you dinner. I want to give you I don't do that. I told Eric one time, he brought a boy to the house. He was about 16, and Eric was driving. And him and 3 boys come in to our house, and they sat down at our kitchen table, and they had hamburgers. Well, 2 of them had hamburgers, and the other one was sitting there, wasn't eating, and he lived over in a poor area. And I said, well, didn't you get him something? He said, well, he said he didn't want anything. Chomp, chomp, chomp. I said, and I told Eric, pulled Eric aside. I said, don't ever do that. I said, you buy for those people that don't have. I don't care if they say they don't want it. If it's a young boy, 16, he always wants a hamburger, 100% of the time, always. I said, you don't sit there and eat because I have been that kid sitting there and I'm saying, I don't need anything. I just want to be with the guys, and I'm sitting there, my mouth's watering. I just wonder they didn't see the saliva falling all over the table, you know. You know. So I don't believe in doing that. We don't do that. And you buy for that person. If they don't eat it, if they throw it away, you do it anyway. Because there's people that cannot. Don't just walk away. Say, we're going to a restaurant. Where y'all want to eat? See you later. Don't do that. And I know some of you can't afford to do that, but if you can afford it, buy their dinner. And you can't always do that, but I can do that. And I believe in looking out for the downtrodden. Y'all know what it's like. I used to have this buddy in high school. He wasn't my buddy. I just go some places with him once in a while. And he'd want to go off to eat places at dinner. His name was John White. He had a brand new 55 Ford. I mean, brand spanking new 55 Ford hardtop with didn't have the post. And I was going, well, his father was a lawyer. And he said, well, it's only 75 cents to eat over here. And I'm saying, I work for 50 cents an hour sacking groceries. I didn't say that out loud, but I'd go with him sometime, just look. I've been there. Don't do that. If you can't afford to buy their food, don't say we're going off to eat. Somehow, at least go away and then do something else. I hope y'all are aware of the people you're around. Are you? You aware of that? Pay attention. Pay attention who, well, I didn't know they couldn't afford nothing. Look at their car and look at their clothes and look at their lifestyle. Don't do stuff like that that's going to hurt other people. And it looks like you don't care. And you know what? You don't. Because as long as I get my hamburger, it's all that matters. I have been that person. Has anybody been there besides me? That's tough. But I care about the poor and the needy. All right. Well, now don't forget our pantry, food pantry. Don't forget food cards. You want to send them $30, $40, $50, whatever you want to send. We'll take anything. $20, $10, $5, anything. Huh? 6 people cards yesterday. We mailed out 6 people cards, $75 to $100 a piece. And we do that regular. I give people here food cards. And just stop and think sometimes. You know what I think? I think, gosh, I can afford to buy my dinner and their dinner easier than they can afford to buy their dinner. And it's not going to hurt me, and it would hurt them. That's the way I think whenever I'm with people. So I say, well, I can afford to do this. We starve, we'll all starve together. All right, that's enough. And I don't guess we got any visitors, do we? I can survey the audience pretty easy.
Really?
We got a chili cookout, whatever you call it. The 29th of October, and we'll be gathering down here at Drake's Creek Park, right there by the tennis court. We have a good time, and Just remember that. Well, let's go to the Lord in prayer. And Rusty, you want to pray for us, please? Amen. I love you, Rusty. Boy, talk about turning a guy's world around. He's turned Rusty's around. Rusty used to come around. He's such a gentle guy. I walk up to him now and I say, I love this Rusty. He used to come to the house. He was an old drunk. Wasn't you? Right? Young drunk. He was young drunk. I love Rusty. I'm just, y'all can't believe the difference. You had to know him 12 years ago. We won't go into all that. There was a time I'd tell Mike, don't let him in the house. If he comes up the door, don't let him in. He was a character back then. But he's such a gentle soul now. I do love you. Well, don't we change over the years? If we don't change, we're not repenting. We're not maturing, are we? If we don't change, we're not becoming what we're supposed to be. Well, if you're not becoming what you're supposed to be, you're not a believer. This thing of being like Christ is a very slow process. You know that, don't you? Very slow. You have to first. You got to be a Jehovah's Witness. Then you got to become a woman. Then you got to be a. I used to think back during World War II, 1944. I was 5 years old, and my uncles would come to the house, and I thought, as a little 5-year-old, I thought, well, when you grow up, you have to join the Army, then you have to join the Navy, and then you have to be in the Army Air Corps, and then you have to become a woman, and then you become a man. As a little kid, I'm thinking all this, going, I don't know if I want to be those things. Aren't kids? I don't know. But isn't it funny how little kids think? I actually thought that. And my cousin he was in the Army, and he'd get us all together and march us down the street to the movie house, and we'd go see a Tarzan movie or something with Johnny Weissmuller. It's funny. Isn't life funny?